Marketing Strategy for Authors. Written by Tao Wong. Narrated by Shannon Thompson. Choosing your product. You might not have much choice on what product to market. You might only have one book, one idea. Nothing wrong with that. Skip ahead further down. Otherwise, there's a step before all this where you consider the kind of book or series, etc., that you want to write. This might be something to consider or dig into. In other words, do research on what sells if you are, like many writers I know, filled with ideas. If you have a half-dozen ideas that you're equally interested in, there's nothing wrong with choosing the one that'll make you the most money. There are other books that discuss how to find a good genre to write in. The research methods constantly change, so it'd date this book if I tried to tackle it. For that matter, writing for magazines, shorts, etc., is a form of product choice. Remember, there's an opportunity cost involved in writing shorts, or flash fiction, or your nonfiction book or your fiction series. Time spent working on one thing is time not spent working on another project, at least until we learn time travel. Here are some other things to consider when creating a product. Format, presentation. Certain mediums dictate your writing. For example, contrast how web novel serials, comics, novels, and movie scripts are all different. Length of your work. Flash fiction, novella, short story, novel, epic fantasy. Appendix, glossaries, images, and additional material. Speed of your writing and/or completion of work. Non-book products. We are getting into a longer talk about formats and licensing, where you can potentially push your product, that initial idea, that initial universe, into multiple areas that aren't directly related to publishing. For example, your product could be a movie, an anime, a YouTube series, a podcast, merchandised bookmarks, posters, t-shirts, toys, a musical, and the CD soundtrack, which is another product, comics, and on and on and on. There's a whole book to be written about such things, and frankly, I'm not qualified to discuss most of it. So I just want to leave that niggle in your brain that just because I'm talking of books here, it doesn't mean you can't do other forms of products from that initial idea. Book products. Now, let's assume you wrote a book. Not a comic, not a movie script, but a book. There's still a larger question to ask, which is what kind of product format you want to make it. Here's a few of the most common suggestions, and again, remember, there are other product types that might make sense. Also, realize that each product type can cannibalize sales from other product types. For example, having a paperback might take away from your ebook sales a little, but they also introduce you to a new market. Ebooks. There are two major file formats for ebooks: EPUB, used in iBooks, Kobo, Scribd, Amazon, etc., and Mobi, Amazon exclusive but being deprecated. You might have also heard Kindle Unlimited, KU, mentioned, but that's not a format, that's a distribution method. We'll talk about it later on when we get into the discussion of distribution. Ebooks are how most of us make our money as indie authors. They make up a large percentage of our income, anywhere from 60 to 99%, if you include KU, which is delivered in ebook format. Producing an ebook is a non-question if you have written a book these days. You can and should produce one. Here's what you need to consider when producing an ebook. 1. Inclusion of images, appendices, etc. can affect your margin. Amazon can and will charge you more for larger books. Other retailers do not do so. 2. Formatting for ebooks is different than for print. 3. This is often the base form for most indie publishers. Every other format comes from here, and so the base production cost, editing, proofreading, etc., is often assigned to this product. Audiobooks. This is one of the fastest growing markets for publishing. Certain genres are heavily invested in audiobooks. The biggest concern about audiobooks is the high cost of production. As a rough estimate, using the audiobook narrator cost and including mastering and proofing cost, an audiobook will cost you $350 per finished hour. There are approximately 9,300 words per finished hour, so a 60,000-word book will cost $2,258 to produce. This is not including the prior cost of editing that has been assigned to ebooks. In other words, developmental editing, line editing, etc. There are other methods of financing audiobooks, including royalty share with your narrators or sale of your audiobook rights, which make alternative methods of providing them available, but are dependent to some extent upon your ebook sales and time and effort in finding narrators and producers. To note, there's been a major indication that there might be a sea change in the audiobook market as AI voices come into play. It's just starting as of 2020, but it's possible that in the next year or two, AI voices could become acceptable at most audiobook distributors. This would drive the cost of audiobook production down significantly. Another thing to note is that audiobooks currently cost significantly more, for the consumer, than ebooks. As production costs drop, expect the margin and the price to drop too. Audiobooks are still anywhere from 1/5 to 1/10 of your ebook market sales, but can make up to 1/3 of your income due to their higher selling price. As such, you should definitely consider them. However, realize that promotional strategies and promotional channels dedicated purely for audiobooks are still in their infancy. Print. Here are some options within print. Mass market paperbacks. These are smaller in size and use cheaper quality paper. They are often only viable if produced in the thousands, but can bring the price of paperbacks down to near ebook levels. Paperbacks. Soft cover, often done in print on demand. Hardcovers. Large print versions of paperbacks and hardcovers. Print as an indie book publisher will make up about 1% of your sales or less. This number is significantly different for traditional publishers. I've seen numbers from 20 to 50% of income coming from print distribution or higher. If you do go with a traditional publisher, they will handle the production of your print works, and as such, you won't have to worry about it as much. However, in return for accepting cost of production, as a traditional author, you receive anywhere from 16 to 15% of retail price, depending on format and contract, and will have to contend with return withholdings as well. Having more options for print on your product page can price anchor your ebook price, making it seem cheaper. Large print is often purchased not by individuals, but libraries. If you are producing large print work, make them in hardcover, as that is the preferred format for libraries. Print on demand is expensive. Check out services like KDP Print and Ingram Spark. Other product types. Here are some other somewhat common publishing product types. These are common in the sense that they are viable product types, but are not commonly exploited by indie publishers. Co-authoring works in another universe. Licensing works in your universe to other authors. Shared world anthologies. Comics. Movies and/or TV. Foreign translations. Web novels or web stories.